Hi. I have a bit of a similar question, actually. I know one of the ways in which the Bible is appreciated, even by some of its harshest critics and deeply atheistic people, is as a work of literature and is something, at least the King James or the authorized translation of the Bible is something very aesthetically beautiful and a great work of literature and a great work of poetry. And I'm wondering, just from your study of it and from your personal perspective, if there's any particular passages or parts of it that you find particularly have struck you in that way, or that you cherish more than any others that you'd be able to share? Or
well, the ones that have really opened up to me, I think, are the stories in Genesis, right up to the Tower of Babel, because I think, well, and hopefully I'll be able to talk to all of you about that, but I think I've got some sense of what they mean and why. I mean, I know it's not exhaustive, and obviously, but and then the story in Exodus as well, I also feel that I've got a handle on that, and so those have hit me really, really hard. And that, I mean, just trying to understand this first part of Genesis, to try to understand what these concepts mean, has been, especially when I started to understand that the concept that human beings are made in God's image, that God has all those attributes that we just described, that human beings are made in God's image, that's actually the cornerstone of our legal system. That really rattled me, because I didn't understand that clearly, that our body of laws has that metaphysical presupposition without which the laws fall apart. And that's starting to happen. It really is, like the postmodern critique of law. The law schools are, I would say, they're overrun by postmodernists who are undermining the structure of Western law as fast as they possibly can, because they don't buy any of this. And so they're much more likely to just think of the law as something like a casual, pragmatic tool to be manipulated for the purposes of bringing forth the utopia. It's a really, really, really bad idea. So it's very strange to me that we go off track when that metaphysical foundation starts to get rattled. And so
do you think your appreciation of the aesthetic beauty of it comes from a belief in the truth of the underlying propositions? I mean, it's because even the atheistic critics I'm thinking of, like even Dawkins or Hitchens, really appreciate the Bible as just a piece of really beautiful literature, and I guess the quality of their writing and the sort of exalted themes behind it, even if they totally reject the underlying premises of it. But you seem to
I don't think that you can see it as beautiful and poetic and reject the underlying premises, because if you see it as beautiful and poetic, you're accepting the underlying premises with your experience of the beauty and the poetics, even though you may be fighting it with your articulated rationality. So I think all that indicates is a disintegrated perspective on the book. And it's not surprising that that's the case. I mean, it's the perspective that everyone has on the book, except with them it's more well-developed and well thought through. But I think it's fundamentally, they're not approaching the thing with enough respect. That's my sense, is that, and who knows, right? Because I don't know, but what I've tried to do is to think, there's probably more to this than I know. And then try to understand it from that perspective, rather than to think, for example, well, it's a collection of superstitions that we've somehow outgrown. It's like, no, it's just, sorry, that's not a deep enough analysis, because it's got some truth, but it doesn't take into account the fact that the propositions still stand at the foundation of our culture. It doesn't address Nietzsche's central concern, which is that if you blow out the notion of God, the entire structure crumbles. And you can debate that, fine. But I'd just assume that you debated it with Nietzsche, because he's a pretty tough customer to tangle with. So, and I don't think the atheist types, insofar as there's a type, I don't think they've wrestled with the real problems. So, yeah.